So, Cyberpunk Red's solo. That is a topic that is near and dear to my heart. I've been playing games in the Cyberpunk genre since I was like 10. My favorite archetype has always been the solo. Um, so, back in the day when I started playing, I was playing Shadowrun, but Shadowrun and Cyberpunk have a lot of overlap. The main difference is being that in Shadowrun, there's magic and there's fantasy races and stuff like that. So some of the playable races in that are trolls, dwarves, elves, obviously humans, but those are the main differences. And the main reason I chose to play Shadowrun back in the day was just because Cyberpunk wasn't really an option. I didn't know that the books existed because they were put out way before my time. And here recently, Cyberpunk Red dropped, so I picked up that book and have really been getting into it. The solo has always been a staple of that genre. The solo, or in Shadowrun, as we called it, the street samurai. But it is your badass action hero. Think like Rambo or the Commando or Solid Snake or Raiden. Just name a few characters that would really fit the solo role well, and you're kind of getting on the right page. Then take those characters and cram them to the gills with bleeding edge cyberware, things that's going to make them into combat monsters. Those characters already are really efficient in combat, but just like dial it up to, like, on a scale from 1 to 10, like 20. Dial it up to 20, and then you're getting into the realm of the solo. On top of that, give them the best weapons, the best armor that money can afford. Sometimes stuff that can't even be purchased. It's probably a prototype they stole from Arasaka Labs during a raid, or something along those lines. And then throw on combat drugs on top of that to make them even more badass. just as an example. My own favorite character I've ever played, I played him for about 5 years and then had to retire him just because he was getting overpowered. My friends are excellent friends, and they let me play this character probably well past his shelf life was over. But I love playing the characters so much that everybody just kind of allowed me to do it. And he was a street samurai, a dwarf street samurai, Molly Murphy. And this guy had all the tech that you could think of. I spent all of my money that I earned from jobs in upgrading cyberware and weapons. So this guy was basically an amalgamation of Arnold Schwarzenegger in Commando, and then Gotrek Gurnisson from the Gotrek and Felix books. If you don't know who that is, Gotrek is a dwarf slayer that is seeking glorious death in combat, hopefully to overwhelming odds by like fighting, demigods or demons, things like that. And then I sprinkled in some like Irish punk bands in there for flavor. So Molly had this great big red mohawk and covered in tattoos, and he had dermal armor plating for cyberware and hydraulic legs so he could jump really high if he needed to, and a full chrome arm, think like Winter Soldier, so he could chicken wing this giant machine gun that should have been mounted on a vehicle and fire that at people like he was Rambo. It was like, I don't know, every 15-year-old boy's action hero wet dream rolled into one. And it's just a reason why I love playing solos so much. It's such a badass character concept. And the things you get to do in the game being a solo or a street samurai is just like mind-blowing. So you got this giant cybernetic, super-powered arm, or maybe your whole body's been jacked up with cybernetics to make you insanely powerful. So swords in this world actually are viable because you can have reflexes that are so finely tuned and reinforced with special metals so that your reflexes make a cracked out cheetah look like they're going in reverse. Your characters become superhuman, and a lot of them can even develop god complexes. They see regular humans as lower life forms because they can't possibly do the things that these street samurai and shadowrunners and solos do on a regular basis. Just for an example, Molly had this monofilament katana. So basically, the blade is so sharp that it's just a single molecule wide, and then that wielded by an arm that has the power of a hydraulic press. Yeah, I'm kind of a weeaboo. He had a katana, whatever. His last mission, I don't remember exactly what the mission was about, but I do remember how it ended. And we were attacked by 2 attack helicopters, and my friend, the other solo, was just a superb sniper, and the one helicopter is dropping off troops by fast rope. And as they're dropping to the ground, he's nailing them from almost a mile away with his 50 cal sniper rifle, picking them right off the rope before they can even hit the ground. And then my character, Molly, basically was out of ammo with his machine gun. We'd been in a very long fight, and the chopper attacked me, fired missiles. The missiles almost killed Molly right there. But then I have this grappling hook installed in Molly's arm, and he shot this thing at the helicopter and grabbed the landing gear with it. Think Inspector Gadget's like stretchy hands, right? And Molly's reeling himself into this helicopter, and he's close enough that the guns can't hit him anymore. He's just bleeding profusely, but his skin is knitting itself back together as fast as it can due to the nanobots working in his skin, and the bone is like knitting itself back together and welding itself back together due to the nanobots. He's bleeding profusely, but doesn't feel a thing because he's got this pain editor in his skull, and it just shuts off all pain responses to his body. So this berserker dwarf is climbing up this helicopter on his grapple arm. The pilot's freaking out. They can't shake this guy. And he gets to the door, and he's hanging on with one hand, and he pulls the sword off his back and cuts the armor hull of this attack chopper and forces his way inside, killing both the pilot and co-pilot that were in like these, they're almost like cryo chambers. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to keep the pilot completely armor-coated in battle in case something goes wrong. So they're extremely tough. They can take blasts from rockets and stuff like that and not die. And Molly drives his sword through one of these armored tubes, killing the pilot. And we crash this helicopter to the ground. Molly's still inside. And all Molly's friends come running to make sure he's okay. And the dwarf is still alive. He's incredibly tough. But man, is he jacked up. Ends up spending months in the hospital. And that's when I decided, man, that was an epic send-off. How many people can say they killed an attack chopper with a sword? And I was like, yeah, that's the legend of Molly Murphy right there. That's a good place to close up shop, right? And that was just like one exploit of Molly Murphy and his team. And that's just, a testament to the awesome shit you can do as a solo. It's really hard to have epic moments like that with other character classes. You can, but they're not going to be epic related like combat moments, like action movie moments. That is the realm of the solo. And that's why my heart is near and dear to that. But as I was saying, there are other types of solos you can play. You could be like the super stealthy, skulking around in shadows cyber ninja. You could be like the long-range sniper, like my friend. He was the ever suave, dressed in a fine business suit, always looked good for the occasion, but he had a sniper rifle that broke down into a briefcase. And he would go set up on a building like a mile away and just keep overwatch. And when things got bad, he would shoot through walls and just start drilling guys. So if you ever seen that Schwarzenegger movie Eraser where they got the rail rifles and they're shooting through buildings at heat signatures and just popping dudes, that's the kind of stuff my buddy was doing. So there's all kinds of different solos out there. Really cool class. As far as Cyberpunk Red goes, the ability for solos is called Combat Awareness, which breaks down the solo into a couple different fields of what you want to be good at. And the cool thing about the ability is as you level up and get stronger, you can actually shift those points daily on what you want to be good at for that day. So maybe you have a different type of mission you need to do. You can swap up your loadout. And some of those choices are damage reduction. You get hit and you can just shrug off some hits. You know, you're solo, you've been in scraps before, you can take a little extra damage and you get shot in the shoulder, like, yeah, okay, whatever, just shrug it off. You can do extra damage. So basically you can find the weak points in an opponent's armor and you know where to put the rounds to really make them count. So that's another option. Another one is just like overall situational awareness. Like you're always ready for a fight. You know the volatile nature of combat and you're always prepared for that. So like seeing ambushes, figuring out where snipers are, things like that. So you can be ready to act before things actually kick off. And then you have an initiative boost. So when things do kick off, you can act first in a combat. And it's really important to be able to act first in a combat because you can look at the battlefield, see where key fighters are, key weapon systems, and you can kill those guys immediately and make the rest of the fight much easier for yourself before they have time to get into cover, before they have time to employ their big machine guns or rockets or whatever they might have. And yeah, there's just a lot of versatility with the class ability that really helps out. There's another one that allows you to be more precise. So like you really focus your mind and you take your time lining up the shots and you become more accurate. And like, yeah, bullets are whizzing all around you and it's like, it doesn't matter. I'm a hardened solo. I've done this a million times. Those bullets flying around me, no thing. And then last but not least, you can like get rid of your fumbles. So fumbling in games like this, usually something really bad happens. And when you're using firearms, that could be like, oh, I shoot my buddy, I shoot myself in the foot, I drop my magazine, I'm out of bullets. Or if you're using like a high-powered weapon or like ordnance grenades or rockets, that could be really catastrophic if that thing goes off in your hand. So being able to avoid fumbles is really pretty good, especially when your primary job is handling weapons. So yeah, just like in media and video games, the solo is very well represented. Basically, any type of media that you look into, you're going to see the solo. So if that is the kind of thing you're into, then I think this would probably be the right class for you if you're trying to get into Cyberpunk Red. And anyways, thank you much for watching the video. Hope to see you in the next one.